Welcome back everybody, and today I'm going to be looking at prompt number 8, which is words. Now, right from when I first saw this, what came to my mind was blackout poetry. And despite having studied literature at school, I knew nothing about blackout poetry until I participated in the Defemorember challenge last year, and one of our prompts for the Defemorember challenge was blackout poetry, and here we go, and in response I created this page here, and I was really quite taken by the idea of blackout poetry. And basically blackout poetry, it's also known as erasure poetry, redacted poetry. It's thought of as a form of found poetry. And the basic essence of it is that you take a page of writing, you pick out certain words, and you use those words to make a poem. And it's as simple as that, really. And you get rid of the rest of the words. It's as simple as that, really. It's great fun. It can be mind-blowing what you can actually find on a page and come up with something that's completely different meaning to what the original text was. So when I saw the prompt words for today, as I say, I immediately thought of blackout poetry, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So this is a book page which I'd added into my journal as a page, and I'm being a little bit careful because I've just gessoed this page, but I've sat and had a quick look at this, and this is gosh, it's from a book. It's obviously sort of a seafaring story, and there's a lot of muskets and fighting and, you know, shipmates and things like that in there. It's obviously quite an old story, but I've had a quick scan and I've come up with some words to make a poem. And what I'm going to be doing next is the basic steps of the blackout poetry is you scan the text, choose your words, you circle those words in the pencil, you check that there's nothing else you want to add or take out, and then you've got a number of options. You can black out the rest of the words so that you just are left with the words of your poem that you have created, or you can circle those words or go round those words in a bold with a bold border so that they stand out. Some people add pictures in or backgrounds around those words. There's a multitude of ways to do it, and I'll put a link below to writers.com, which has a really interesting kind of history and description and some examples of blackout poetry. But also have a look on YouTube. There's a lot of videos if you're interested, and there's a multitude of ways of doing this. But that's what I'm going to be doing today. Now, it's not overly exciting to watch somebody doing blackout poetry, so I will leave the camera running for a little while, but then I will probably turn it off, and I'll come back at the end, or I'll pop back in a bit later and explain what I'm doing next. But to start with, I'm going to take a pencil, I'm going to pick out the words that are going to form my poem, and then I'm going to decide on how I'm going to finish the page. Alright, so out of something that, as I say, is quite a violent, if historical description of being on board a boat and fighting, we've come up with this. Come back, against the wind, across the blue swell, back over the blazing green. Look into those eyes, could not doubt, felt the tremble. Fight for it. Come, please, I beg you for the chance. So there we go. That's my poem for the day. And what I'm going to do now is to decide how to finish this page off. I've got a little bit of an idea, and I think I am actually going to black out the rest of those words, which, as I say, is not really a very exciting process to watch. I will be taking a big black marker. I'll be putting something underneath to protect the rest of the pages and blacking out those words. So I'm going to do that. Then I'll come back and I'll tell you what the next step is going to be. All right, as you can see, I've blacked out the rest of that page, and I've just used an art marker, which has got a nice chunky tip, to black that out. And I've had a piece of plastic underneath just so that it doesn't go through, because this is quite old book page, and I think I'm going to have to stick something over the back of that now. But anyway, now the bit of washi tape on the side didn't cover very well, so I'm going to probably stick something over that. But what I'd like to do is include a picture, and I've been through my stash of fussy cut things, and I thought this is almost quite romantic. It's like someone pleading with their lover to come back, and so I pulled out a couple of things. I mean, look at this, doesn't it just scream 1970s at you? But I think that's too big to use. I can't, there's no way that I could fit that on. So I've got quite a nice rose. I could use part of it. Yeah, I could have part of it. But I've also got this. It's a picture of someone writing. And I thought if I tore around that, that might fit in there quite nicely. So I think it's going to come down to the rose or the book. I don't know. Which would you use? Let me know in the comments below. I think I might stick with this one and go with a black and white theme today, I think. Before I put that on there, I want to do something to take away some of this black. I'm thinking I might get a stencil and a bit of texture paste out. As I say, this paper is a little bit thin, but I will be backing it with another page at some stage. So we'll give it a go. Right, I'm going to go find my texture paste and a stencil, and we'll add some interest onto this. All right, I've chosen this stencil. I'm just going to be using bits of it, and I thought this was just a, you know, I guess this poem for me has got a bit of a, I suppose, a romantic feel. As I say, pleading with someone to come back. So I'm going to be using some of the sort of stylized leaves on here, I think, and the patterns. You can tell I haven't used this one, can't you? There's still bits of stencil. Right, so I'm just going to be putting some texture paste on. I use a homemade texture paste. I'll link the video on how to make this in the comments below. So I'm going to do this and then dry it off, and we'll see where to go from there. Okay, this is all dry. Now, I would really like to put some acrylic ink on here, but I want to do gold, and I don't have any. Don't have any gold acrylic ink. I do have some gold acrylic paint, So what I'm going to try doing is thinning it down with some water and seeing if I can just get some dribbles and some colour going down the page, whilst of course avoiding the poem. I don't know whether this is going to work, but we're going to give it a go. Right. Okay, what I've done is I've used some clips just to clip this little bit of acetate to the top of my journal, and that's just to protect some of the other pages. I've also got a bit of kitchen paper here, and as you saw, I've mixed this up just with some water. Now, this is not quite as runny as my acrylic inks, but I do want to be able to control where it goes. So let's have a go and see. Now, I'm obviously going to have to hold this up, and I don't know how that's going to be for you seeing it on the camera. Okay, do you know, I don't know whether that has come out quite as I anticipated, but I don't dislike it. I'm just going to prop it up slightly there. I'm going to check that you can still see that. Oh yeah. Yeah, I quite like the way the paint's bloomed where the paper's really wet here. I don't know whether just to kind of move it around a little bit more. It's one of those things that sometimes is better if you know when to stop playing, isn't it? And the paint has kind of separated a little bit as well into some different colours. There's some more sort of bronzy bits here as well, which again I don't mind. I just want to get a little bit more of the gold on some of that white texture paste. I don't want to cover all of it, but it's maybe some bits like that. Okay, what I do think is important to do, I've got a wet wipe here, is just to see if I can, no, see it's not going to come off completely, but I just want to make sure that all those words can be seen for our Blackout Poetry. All right, as I say, it's not quite not quite what I envisaged. I obviously need to get some gold acrylic ink, but anyway, you know, you've got to try these things, and I'm all for using what I have actually rather than keep buying new. I'm going to leave that to dry, and I've just realised I haven't put my stencil in some water, so I'm going to run away and do that before the texture paste sets on there as well. I'll come back when it's dry. I was hoping to get this image in, but do you know what? I don't know that I'm going to. I may just leave it like that for today. We'll see how it dries up and then make a decision. My goodness, that took quite a bit to dry. My poor old book page. Do you know what? It's not what I'd envisaged, but actually I quite like it. And I think, you know, I'm looking at the separation of the paint here. And we've got some of this. Well, I'm assuming it's the separation of the paint. It may be the black ink running into different colours. I don't know. But anyway, that separation, I guess you could say, is, you know, in line with the poem that talks about, you know, a separation and please come back to me. So there you go. You can spin a yarn about anything if you're good enough. It was one of the things I learned. I did some study with the Learning Connection here in New Zealand, and doing some qualifications in art and creativity. And it was one of the things I learned. It doesn't matter what you produce. If you can tell a good story about it, then it passes. You know, it meets the criteria you've been set. Anyway, there's an aside. Love the Learning Connection. Got to promote them if you're in New Zealand. All right, I've got a gold gel pen, and I'm just going to finish off. I think I'm just going to try and put a little bit of a border around here, and there you go. There's me trying to talk and work at the same time. Do you know, it might help if I put my glasses on my face instead of my head, eh? There we go. Look at that. There we go, and that washi tape kind of covered okay in the end. I don't mind that at all. Now, what I haven't done is to put a little tag on to say what the prompt was. So let me find. Now, I've got two copies of the sheet that Leigh kindly provided for us. I printed one on a piece of wrapping paper, brown wrapping paper, and the other one on some white, because I realised that actually I didn't want brown every day. So what are we doing? Words. Oh, excuse me. Is this going to go in? No, I do think I want it up there. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to paint it with a little bit of gold. Yeah, see, I thought that was thin enough. Because I thinned that paint down, it was just enough to give the brown paper a colour, but not to obliterate the letters. So I'm going to dry that off, and then I'll stick it on. We'll come back and have a final quick look at what we've done today. Okay, everyone, so here's our page for today. So with the prompt words, we've created some blackout poetry from just a random page that was in my journal. And the poem I've created is come back, against the wind, across the blue swell, back over the blazing green. Look into those eyes, could not doubt, felt the tremble. Fight for it. Come, please, I beg you for the chance. So there we are, folks. I hope you've enjoyed that. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's prompt is lace. So let's see where we go with that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I will see you again tomorrow. Ka kite anō.